A group of scientists is urgently warning Illinois lawmakers about the strain that data centers could put on the state's grid. Illinois already has some of the more extensive clean energy laws in the country, but according to the Union of Concerned Scientists, new grid modeling shows that rising energy demand, driven in part by data centers, could increase pollution from coal and gas plants and then lead to greater reliance on power imports from other states. This group is recommending requiring that data centers find their own sources of carbon-free electricity and pay the cost of connecting to the power grid so that ratepayers don't have to cover the bill.
We found that data centers could be responsible for billions of dollars in electricity system costs in the coming decades. So it's really essential we have state protections in place to avoid other ratepayers shouldering that cost.
This report also highlights potential health impacts, including increased respiratory and cardiac conditions. We've got more results from those findings and policy recommendations on our website, 25newsnow.com.